Hello everybody and welcome to a new series. This is a tutorial Let's Play for Caves of Qud. This was streamed on my Twitch channel and then trimmed down in post for your enjoyment. The goal of this is to help you be walked through the beginning of the game, make it through the early game, and get to Golgotha, from the very beginning of the game in the default starter town of Joppa. I do my best to explain everything as clearly and concisely as possible, and I will be trimming it together so that there is minimal filler. It's going to last for a couple of episodes, and if you've been watching this channel for a while, you'll know that this will eventually be accompanied by some short tutorials covering quick specific subjects. And if you've been watching this channel for a while, I would also like feedback on this type of content. Let me know about the format and the editing. Feedback is welcome. Thank you very much for watching, and enjoy the show. So there's 4 different modes of play. If you are a brand new player to Caves of Qud, play this. Play roleplay. I know that, there are people out there who are going to be like, "You bloody baby saving in a row." No, seriously. There's cool shit in this game that's worth seeing. If you're a brand new player, play roleplay. It lets you save every single time you hit a settlement or a town. So you can save, and it's still brutally difficult, and you'll still lose tons of progress, but at the very least you can save. And then you can play through the game like an RPG, which is what I recommend doing if you are brand new to Qud. All of the skills I learned in Qud was because of this mode. If you just want to see Qud, play this. This will allow most creatures to be neutral to you. You don't get XP for killing things, and you only get XP for discovering stuff and reading stuff, basically, and meeting people. Also a very good way to learn the game or just experience the content of the game without actually, having to go through the process of dying a lot. We're going to go die a lot. Now, the question is, do I go with a preset or do I go with a new character? I kind of want to do a preset character because I've never actually done a preset character. I've always just built my own. So I want to stick to a mutant. Okay, Gunwing it looks like. So Gunslayer mutated humanoid. We start out with beak, heightened quickness, wings, and force bubble, meaning I can fly. Okay, force bubble's pretty useful. It allows us to basically build an AoE shield. So now the fun part, chat. Because we are a gunwing, I need a funny name for it. What would you name a gunslinger who can fly? Or I think we're gonna go with Finch Eastwood, because that's pretty good. I like it. And then the final decision you make, which is where do I settle? We're gonna be starting in Joppa because that's where you get all of the story dialogue, but if you're tired of starting in Joppa or Joppa or Appa or whatever you want to call it, you can start in random villages in one of the other 4 biomes. A hill village, a desert canyon village, salt dunes village, salt marsh village. But sometimes your starting quests can be kind of annoying in that case, so we're going to go with the written quests, which is Joppa. And let the game do a thing. Who inhabits the colossal desert freehold of Naru? The gathered men, the fiefdoms of Ordrum, the kneeling men, the jungles of Yip, the breathless men, and the rust caves of Qud, the screaming men. So, if you've never played Qud before, Qud kind of has its own verbiage and its own language. There are written accents in this game that are so dense, it's going to be hard to understand some of what they're saying. I will do my best. If something is confusing, please yell at me. I'm also going to move my camera ever so slightly before I start. On the 3rd of Eru Ut, you arrive at the oasis hamlet of Joppa along the far rim of the Megara Yi and the Great Salt Desert. All around you, moisture farmers tend to groves of Viridian water vine, and there are huts wrought from rock salt and brain stalk. The horizon of Qud's jungles strangle chrome steeples and rusted archways to the earth. Further and beyond, the fabled spindle rises above the fray and pierces the cloud-ribbon sky. Now, we're either going to do absolutely fine or I'm going to die in 90 seconds, so... That's how this is going to go. And there's Qud. So this is your mini-map and your happenings, which I can hit, grab or remove with the hit of a button. Plus and minus on the numpad show the overworld. The overworld is static and doesn't change. However, if I hit, not Alt, if I hit L, we can look. These are descriptions of all of the different zones in the game. To give you an idea, This is kind of your lowest level starting zone down here. The game doesn't tell you any of this. This is kind of like your level 3 to 5 zone. This is kind of like your level 3 to 6 zone, maybe up to 10 in some places. Things start getting a little bit harder when you get out into the flower fields, and if you go to the jungle, you're just gonna fucking die. There are specific locations like Grit Gate and Kaya Cucumber Village, the Rust Wells, and Red Rock, and the Asphalt Mines and Bethesda Susa, and these never move. However, every single one of these tiles is a basically a 9-tile grid, so 3 by 3 by 3. 3 by 3 by 3. Those are all random. So there are specific locations that are semi-handcrafted, some dungeons that are entirely handcrafted with like 3 or 4 variants, and then there's the rest of the world map, which is completely static, sort of, to a degree, where the zones begin and end. However, the contents of every single one of those tiles are completely random. So you will get absurd amounts of variety. Then there are also hidden, randomly generated locations such as dungeons, towns, places with legendary creatures and all that are going to be scattered throughout the entire world, which you can find based on hints and or just stumbling upon them at random. So like here, if I go down to the salt marsh, in stagnant pools of luminous lilies, compete with the ribbon of stars in the night sky. Under the salt and sun, through they sink into the shade of brineweed. Over here, we have the ivory sea of dunes, or like waves in a frozen-like place. There are cracks in the salt from where the earth blistered by the jeweled sun, contracted and broke, and then the horizon melts and the sky together, with a vast plain of the Magora-Yi, the Great Salt Desert. Another thing that I think is worth mentioning before we really dive in is Caves of Qud is kind of like this weird mishmash of Gamma World, Alice in Wonderland, and Dune? But it's like the post-apocalypse. And there's interdimensional stuff. And if you've played like, what's the name of that stupid game? Horizon Zero Dawn. There's a bit of that going on where like there is advanced tech, but nobody understands it. So now that we're in the main map, there are several ways we can move around. We are this laddie with the hat in the middle of the screen that's colored white. I can fly by turning on flying by pressing 4 on the keyboard. You have gained the ability to use swoop. So now we're flying, and I can fly, which is useful in certain situations. And then I can turn flying off, which is going to be helpful. We can make camp and cook. We can do all sorts of other things. If I hit backspace, it'll show me all of the currently known creatures and people in the general vicinity. Once again, if you press L, you can look at anybody. So currently, I've got a fancy chrome revolver. Hold on. I want to look at my chrome revolver. Let's jump over to our inventory real quick and go. Oh, no, actually, no, I need to go to my equipment screen, not my inventory screen. I'm going to look at my chrome revolver, because look at this revolver. I've got a jewel-encrusted chrome revolver, which means I may actually want to, like... Interesting. Smudged and salted chrome wheel clicks to moontime. Just above brainstock hand panel, the grip medallion shines in a Delphian lineage. This item is much more valuable than the usual and grants the wearer plus 100 reputation with water barons. Cool. So another thing you can do is examine everything. That'll make learning this game a lot easier. As an example, Mahmet. Years of the desert have taken their toll on his body, but he commands your ear with his voice like few other men. You wonder what sovereignty he might have come, were he not born a moisture farmer. He's disliked by Archonids for reporting their favorite robot, or reprogramming their favorite robot. Oh no! Arachnids don't like him. He's hated by the villagers of Hawan for sowing their fields with salt, and disliked by the villagers of the Yid Freehold for tricking them into sharing their fresh water. There's always mechwings around. Yes, there's always mechwings around. Then the general watervine farmers, which have slightly different descriptions amongst them, but it's worth looking at. Also, something that's very important is this. This basically says whether or not you can fight with them. If it says impossible, just don't even try. Just run. If they're hostile to you, just get out. Just run away. Just Gone! This guy, on the other hand, average. The tatters of sweat stained Kafaya trash in the wind. Or thrash in the wind. From where they hang about the farmer's neck, clasped in his gnarled brown hand and curved vine reaper of iron, which he culls moisture-swollen wafers from the Viridian plant called water vine. We can cook water vine, but there's something very important we must do before we do anything else. There's a cat. Cestiphus. One star-ribboned night, a ray cat crossed the marshy loam and wandered into Yapa. The water vine farmers, awakened by the joyful cries of a small girl, gathered around to reveal the favorable omen and Exotol and the generosity of the beetle moon. Since then, Cephistius has spent his days curled under the shade of the brainstalk huts, sauntering over dirt paths. So long, he is approached with care. He welcomes the hands of friends and strangers alike. There was one time I started a playthrough of this, and immediately they killed the cat. We're gonna go talk to the cat. Unfortunately, if I try to talk to the cat, it just growls at me. I can ask the cat if they want to trade, and unfortunately the cat has nothing to trade. I can tell the cat to live and drink, and then I can pet the cat, which we do, naturally, because that is the most important thing to do at the beginning of a Caves of Qud run, is you pet the cat. And the cat meows. And I start to glow. Because it's a magical cat that turns me into a light source. So now I'm a Dark Souls character. If I press 0 on the numpad, we auto-explore. Auto-exploring is particularly useful because sometimes you'll find engravings. Engravings give you little chunks of history about the world, and you keep a journal while you're playing Caves of Qud. And the journal is going to... how do I word this? The journal is going to slowly build out the history of the world, because similar to Dwarf Fortress, this game generates a huge amount of history for each world. The difference is, in Dwarf Fortress, it's like, we're just going to generate you a completely new world every time. This doesn't do that. This just takes a pre-built world and scrambles it every time. So locations, names, and places, people are all going to be different. Items created and stuff are all going to be different. But the general direction of the story is going to be the same every time. And part of the joys of Caves of Qud, and this is like hinted at in the trailer with the engraver, but I won't spoil the ending and whatnot. Part of the joys of Caves of Qud is discovering all of these different stories that are generated with each world, which is why I do recommend, if you are a brand new player, to just play on like Wander or Roleplay, because this is the cool part of Caves of Qud, alongside of also the fact that it's a great RPG. In 3005 BR, Shadowcat won a decisive victory against the combined forces of Swan at the bloody Battle of Hapad. Though she lost her prized Omincus during the course of the conflict. As a result of the battle, Hapad was so rife with bad omens, it was named Cursed Decay. And now we discover the location of Sawan, and we note it in historic sites in our journal, and we have a new quest to visit that place, and also recover the item that was lost. So if you ever see an engraved item, look at it and read the history of it. And now this is another big part of the history, the Sultans. I don't know why I'm doing like this almost tutorial playthrough. I don't generally do this. This is getting to the point where I feel like I should like cut this together and call it like Caves of Qud, like beginner overview or something. Anyway, this shrine depicts a significant event in the life of the ancient Sultan, Risef. So this is one of the named characters who doesn't change from run to run. So regardless of what you're doing, this character is the same. In 3 AR, Risef cleansed the marshlands of the plagues of Gyre, or Gear. Gyre? Here? I don't know. I've heard so many different ways to pronounce that. And taught Abram to sow water vine along its fertile tracks. Risef taught them how to farm. And once again, they add that to the journal, and there's nothing else to explore. So now we can wander around Yapa and look at other people. Like this person. This is Tam, the Dromad merchant, who's very tough. A stoic, long-necked man-camel. This trader belongs to the race of Cantal, desert roamers, who men call Dromad. Equipped with sturdy cloth robe, sturdy shillech, and a walking stick, and a plastifer sneakers. If I go up to them, I can hit space. Several options. I can say, I am Finch Eastwood. Who are you? "'Tis a pleasure, friend Finch Eastward. I am Tam. Do you live here? I once walked the Magor Yi, just like many of my brethren. But upon meeting Elder Iridad, I knew at once to settle down here. You will understand, friend, if you speak to him. What kind of creature are you? I am a Dromad, friend, a salt strider. My people have walked the salt for thousands of years, meeting every creature that lives and thinks. And you will not find a better or more resourceful traders in all of Cud than we. So now we're going to trade. This is your trading screen. It looks a little complex, but believe it or not, you'll start to like it after a while. Materials are color-coded. So Boomrose is going to be explosive. Carbide's made out of carbide. But as you get into the later game, like these different colors in this screen are going to turn out to be very helpful. But currently, I don't really need much from them. Aside from maybe more bullets. Probably buy all your lead slugs, because I don't actually have any method of making those just yet. And they cost very little. So we are going to... Could just like give you 2 pieces of beetle jerky. Trade complete. Thanks for the extra bullets. And that's it. So now we're going to go over to Mahmet. Now there's this thing here called the water ritual, right? If we look at them, you see how there's people who like them and people who dislike them? If I do the water ritual with that person, those people that like me or that like or dislike that person will either hate me or like me more based on the fact that I'm friends with this person, right? So it's basically offering your friendship to them. If you do that, you lose a little bit of water, which is your money, which is up here. And they either like you or dislike you more. And if I open up this confusing as fuck part of the UI and go to factions, these are all the different factions. So, as you can see, worms currently dislike me, but docile ones won't attack me, and you aren't welcome in their holy places. One of my greatest achievements in Caves of Cud was I was able to get cats to be indifferent to my existence. Because currently, they dislike you. So yes, these are all the different factions. Currently, apes like us, which is good. Baboon's not too big of a fan. Bears don't like us. Birds like us because we have wings. Cannibals hate us. Cats hate us. The children of Manam hate us. Crabs hate us. Craigsminch hate us. The cult of Mime the Second and the cult of the Coiled Lamb and all of these other lads, they all hate us. Dogs like us. Worst tile set ever. Yeah, I know, right? So anyway, let's talk to this lad. So you can kind of manipulate that by doing the water ritual. Live and drink, friend. May you find shade in Yappa. You would be wise to speak with the elder Iridad and look for his hut to the north. I am in search of work. Some critters are eating the water vine. Farouk claims that he saw one slinking around a vine patch. Ugly little thing. He says pale white, 8 legs, and an ear-splitting whine. I noticed a bit of red dirt in the water vine pool, and the same we find in the soil at a nearby cave to the north we call Red Rock. Travel to Red Rock and kill as many of these critters you can and bring back the corpse of one too. Elder Iridad will reward you for your efforts. I will accept this task. To be tolerated by cats? Yes, it's that and ask a frog to teach you how to jump. Those are the 2 goals of Cud. Okay, so we've now acquired our first quest. We're going to speak with several other people before we leave, though. We're going to go speak with the warden. Actually, hold on. Who likes the warden? Big Ulreg shifts his weight between his hand and forelegs. He shakes the dander off the chipped surface of the great curling horns that sply from his temples. One hand holds a purring blade, the other lame and frostbitten. Reminds us that while Mother Nature may bestow splendid gifts upon her children, she is still sister to cruelty. Loved by the Fellowship of Wardens and admired by the villagers of Yappa for defending their village, and hated by the villagers of Dawar for poisoning their fresh water, hated by the flock of the otherworldly child of cats for ruining their festival of Yut Yara Ux. Okay. Features horns and icy vapor. I don't really feel like giving you the water ritual, so instead, I'm gonna go up to you and speak with the village elder. Actually, who likes the village elder? First, we'll examine you. A hunchback ancient wrapped in a black robe. His smile is warm, protruding from his from his back. Wait, what? His smile is warm, and protruding from his back is a stalk hidden under a veil. His stalk forks into two hands with eyes, and their palms, and immediately you know why men follow Iridad. Loved by villagers of Yappa, disliked by Quabal for torching one of their villages, and disliked by Marvka for torching one of their villages. I'm sensing a pattern. Welcome to the Oasis of Yappa. You will find shade and Vettel along with other provisions to help you scour the rust caves for treasure. Above all else, you may drink of our fresh water to quench your thirst. What can you tell me about Yappa? Yappa is an oasis hamlet nestled between the eastern reaches of the Great Salt Pans in the jungles of Cud. We are a community of water vine farmers, and these groves lie along some of the few tracts of land tame enough to grow water vine. Cud is a strange and terrifying mesa to the northeast. Her trained rivers breed life in all its motley forms, and her poisoned jungles shelter the priceless relics of a forgotten past. But that is just half of it, for Cud's most precious treasures and her most hideous children lie within the innumerable chrome caverns beneath the scarlet loam. To ply those silver hollows, a spry adventurer's dream. The years have wizened me beyond such foolish ambitions, but you may not be deterred so. And then I can ask him to tell me about Yappa again, and just the circle, and then we can do that, and then I can ask him to trade, and all that jazz. There's one other person that we can speak to before we leave. Live and drink, friend. Argvai, my favorite character of Yappa. Mumbling. Tensile strength, lacking electrodynamics, retro threading, and M-band would probably... Oh, I didn't see you there because I was ignoring you. Nothing is stray steel, simulatic, salt, ice heat, solvent. And I can just sit there and keep staring, and he... Unexpected deviation of the clack, constant, clear throat loudly. Must you disturb me? What are you, some sort of treasure hunter? At the very least, make yourself useful. And bring me a knick-knack from one of those caves. I may reward you. Where can I find such a cave? And he says, there are caves everywhere, you dolt. This is Cud. Try the Rust Wells just east of here. And I shall return with your knick-knack. We have received a new quest. So, now if I hit Q, we have 3 quests. We have travel to the historical site of Sawan, which is not something we're going to do just now because I'll probably die. What's eating the water vine, which is travel to Red Rock, and journey to the north of Yappa to Red Rock, and find critters, and then find a knick-knack. We need to kind of do both of those, although one of them is optional. I won't tell you which. Then over here, we can now begin wandering. So the kind of 6 tiles around the edges of Yappa are all, what's the word? The 6 tiles around the edges of Yappa are the kind of this one tile on the world map right here where Yappa is. And we're going to go look at this statue. There's a statue. On the anniversary of a great battle, a babe was found swaddled with oscilloscopes on its eyes, and by a group of hermits in Silo Quarter Dumar. They took him into their fold and fostered him. He became known as Uixes, the analog seed of hermits. We discover the location of Dumar Silo. We have a new quest. Go there. It's 3x3. It's 9 tiles. Yeah. Then I'm just going to auto-explore so we can go up to that little shed up there. And there's gravestones. Let's look at some gravestones. This is here rests Ushmwewe Un, succumbed to despair after losing a water skin. Here rests Yun, choked to death on some stun gas. Ouch. What a way to go. Succumbed to despair after losing a bionic liver implant. Ow. Succumbed to despair after losing a copy of the advertisement for the workshop of the legendary armorer. Lost a flyer, died of sadness. Fell off a cliff trying to recover a lost copy of the Amorphisms About Birds. Amorphisms About Birds. That's a good book, though. I've read that one before. Made too many mocking sounds at an albino ape. Yeah, don't do that. That's bad. Thrown into a pool of acid by an armorer. Ow. And shot in retaliation for stealing from the villagers of Hackish. This is a very bummer world, apparently. And then we have another water vine farmer down here. Sun's starting to go down. So there's something else I need to mention. Down here, there's a button. I have it bound to 7. I don't know what it's bound to by default. But if you press that button and you make a campfire and you press spacebar, you can whip up a meal. Very important. You don't need to actually have food to be able to whip up a meal. You can whip up a meal from anything in the general vicinity. But if you have specific ingredients and cooking skills, then you can put specific ingredients into the meal and it gives you buffs. So we toshed a dash of vacated cumin, a nip of salt, and some brine into a pot and stir. And you eat the meal. And then you can extinguish the campfire by holding Control spacebar and selecting that direction. And we're going to rest until morning, because the sun's going down. And I actually don't have any torches right now, so I'm actually just going to run back up to town.